Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Women Have Needs Too. Women have needs too. Right now, I need strategic collaboration. Today, we have the honor of being joined with Joanne Wieland. I got it right. Woo! The second time. Thank you so much for being here, Joe. Joanne has created a portal to make expert connections that count. Mastermind with other experts, create joint ventures, bundle your products and services to expand your reach and reputation. Now you can find an expert, review their credentials, and hire them in minutes, a process that traditionally would take months. Convert your ideas into realities and be the first to market. Designed for entrepreneurs, executives, event professionals, and the media to collaborate with ease. Today, we're going to learn what all of that is about. Strategic partnerships are very important.
Yes, they are.
You know, when you're starting a business or pivoting a business or, trying to make your business even more successful than it might already be.
Oh, it's a definite way to expand with ease.
And, there's people who have grown tired of the word pivot over the last year and a half. Is there another word for it?
I think I call it be all you're designed to be. And what I mean by that is that I think during this last year and a half, especially, one of the things that we don't realize that really was happening is a lot of people were recognizing that they were doing things that they really didn't want to do or be. And I really think it's a blessing because now I feel like they have the opportunity to, again, we'll use the word pivot, but change, switch over to something that they really do enjoy. Because I really feel like, unfortunately, most of the people, and I have traveled over 1 million miles around the US and the Caribbean, and almost everybody I'd meet, they'd say things like, oh, thank God it's hump day. Oh, it's Friday. And I think this is so sad that they don't even enjoy what they're doing. So I feel like it's a really great opportunity for us to really stop, think about what we really do want to do and be, and start working. I always call it the end in mind. Have the end in mind.
That's what I do. What's what I say? I'm like, what do you want the end result to be? And then let's work our way back up towards where we're going to start. Right?
Exactly. And that's what I think important for us to recognize right now when everybody's thinking everything's so bad, that Linda, that literally it gives us like a do-over, a start over. And I really am excited about it because look at how many women have left the workplace. What is it, like 7 million in the US, or was it 17 million? I'm trying to remember now. But a lot of women, because of everything that's going on with, the education of their children and taking care of their children and everything, I personally think they're going to go either into a different field or start their own business.
70% of the new businesses in the last year and a half have been women.
Yes. And see, that's proof of it. And I really do feel like sometimes I don't know how to say it, but others say it, that we become so busy being busy that we don't stop and really think, what do I really want? What would I really like to do? Or we actually think we're going to do it in 5 years or even a year or whatever. But if we don't really start now, we're going to keep procrastinating and not do what we really love. And I really think that's what's going to make this whole world a lot happier, because when you do what you love and love what you do, you really do vibrate at a higher level and exude an energy that helps others feel good about themselves and happy. And that's where the strategic collaborative partnerships really come in, because that's the other reason most people, I think, Linda, don't do it, because they don't want to do it alone.
Right.
Because
it's so true. It's scary. It can be a very
you started a year ago.
Well, yeah. So, and it was birthed out of the pandemic, even though I have had the idea since 2012, but it was birthed through the pandemic because it was time. It was time. And it was a blessing. It was, I was, this passion of mine was weighing heavy on my heart and on my head, and I couldn't wait to do it. So as soon as I got off the phone with my boss and found out that I no longer had a job, and maybe we'll call you back in a few months, but I was in the meetings and conventions industry, so we all know that didn't happen. So
was that when you were in Orlando?
Yeah. Well, I was already living here in Tampa, but I was working for a company out of Orlando, and yeah, so it was a blessing. Absolutely. But I can tell you, once you start getting that ball rolling,
Mhm.
and you realize that there is more and more. I co-authored a book and I actually wrote about it because it was a process that, you know, I'm a lifelong learner. You know, I enjoy learning. I love learning new things. I love growing, but had gotten to the point where I was overwhelmed. And I just was, you know, a couple of days, a couple of times in tears because I thought, I can't learn one more thing right now.
Right.
I can't take on one more project that I have to learn the processes and figure out, you know, I need to concentrate on this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this before I get to this, that, you know, it was overwhelming. So I'm just here to share with you and Joe that prioritize and do the things that are important now. Make that list, make that daily list. And, you know, it's okay to take off more than you can chew. Just make sure you just eat it one bite at a time, right?
Right. And actually, I love that about the list, because that's what I recommend too. You actually do know the end in mind, like we were talking about, and then you actually create a plan to get there. But also, once you look at that plan, ask yourself first, go through it. I actually recommend you keep track of everything you've been doing for the last week or two. And you might think that's crazy, but you would be, like Linda was just saying, surprised how many things we actually do. And so after you write that list, go through it and ask, what can I eliminate? What is BS, really? Because a lot of times we do things because we've always done them. Do we really need to do them? Is it really moving us forward? So then cross off everything that we can eliminate. Then go through it and ask yourself, what can I automate? If you can buy a software package or something that will allow you to do that in half the time or whatever, automate it. Or even something that you can pay somebody, a program or something, to send out your newsletter once a month without you having to touch it. Just for an example, that's something I did many, many years ago. It just goes out automatically twice a month. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to create it. You know, so that was a big automation for me, just to give an example. And then the last thing, what can I collaborate with somebody else? What can I hire somebody else to do some of these things that I don't need to be doing? Because what I tried to do is keep on the list only things that I had to do, that were only necessary for me, that at the time nobody else could do. Not that I can't then later teach them to do some of those things and even take those off my list, but that's how you can keep growing and do more things again that are strategic that only you can do. But if you don't take all those other things off your list, you're just going to be overwhelmed, burdened, and you're going to be stressed out even in your new idea, your new career or whatever, your new job, because you're still overwhelmed. And so I really feel like, you know, if everybody could learn to do what they do best and let other people do the rest, it's really amazing. Linda started talking about it and I felt like the word was focus, to be able to focus.
You have to focus. And that's my biggest setback, is focusing. But I've learned that one thing I do want to say before I get to that is that women have a habit of overcommitting because they don't want to say no. So they say yes. They say yes. That word just naturally comes out of their mouth without even thinking about it. And then what happens is what happened to me is I got so overcommitted and I put so much on my own plate that I felt like, of course I was accomplishing a lot, but I felt like I wasn't accomplishing anything because I wasn't able to focus on the things that I knew I needed to get done. So I've learned to say no, and I've learned to delegate. That was a tough one for me because I felt like this is my baby. I have to do everything. But then, you know, the reality is I can't do everything.
Right. And you can't do everything well.
And I can't do it. You're right. That's the key right there. You might be want to be one of those super people who can do everything, but are you doing everything well? And that's key too.
Well, and we don't realize how it affects our image, it affects our
Mhm.
reputation when we're trying to do everything. And like, just for an example, one time I took a class when I started how to create a website. It was a 3-month course at
Oh
a
yeah, I was
local
going to create my own
university.
website too.
Well, I did, and I did finally pass by the skin of my teeth. But when I created it, you guys, it looked like a second grader created it. Would I want to put that out to the world? But I did learn a lot from it, because then I was able to speak intelligently to my programmers and developers and designers. So I do think it was valuable. But what I mean is, we have to remember too, when we are doing everything ourselves, does it look homemade or handmade or professional? And, sometimes your friends won't even tell you, because again, sometimes maybe they don't even know what a professional website in this case would
Right.
look like. But I really do feel like, we have to recognize that too. That's one of the reasons we created Link to Experts, so you could hire somebody that is an expert in that field, because you can't always be an expert, and you can't even always know an expert, but you
No.
can always hire one. And a lot of times when we even say to know an expert, just as an example, you even, just like we were talking about, but we might do it with our friends. So maybe Linda and I would say, oh, well, together we could create a really cool website. And again, it would look maybe like a third grader this time
Yeah,
instead of a second grader.
grader.
But you know what I'm saying? So we have to be aware of that too. And not that we don't want to help each other. I don't mean that.
Yeah.
But if we're not, that's not our, strength, maybe consider, asking somebody that it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, we talked about, who's pivoting, but sometimes, like, I have a friend who was struggling with, she wasn't happy being back at her job, but they finally called her back and things weren't the same,
Mhm.
And I'm like, it's time to leave. And she's like, I can't. I'm like, what do you mean you can't? So how does somebody decide when it's time to make that change? And
Well, you have a good point with what you said to your friend. I feel like you'll just know when you know. I mean, it might sound really silly, but when I know, I just know. And it's almost like, I'll just say, God, whatever you call it, doesn't let me rest until I do it. Like,
Yeah.
I remember one time I felt like I was supposed to move. I had lived there 11 years, and it was just like, it's time.
it's
And
time.
I had no idea where I was going to go, why I was moving,
Wow.
but I just kept knowing I had to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, so sometimes, we can tell the person it's time, but
Mhm.
unless they really.
I always
feel it's time.
say, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired,
Yes.
that's when you know.
Yes.
And it does get to that point where you're just like, I can't do it for one more second.
Right.
And then that phone call is going to happen, or that move,
Right.
or whatever. It's not just in your career, it's in every aspect of your life.
Yes, it really is.
Yeah, it really is. So let's talk about collaborative, strategic collaboration.
Okay. Well, I think, again, the reason most people don't do this because they don't want to do it alone. Think about it, especially when you have a job. And not that I'm saying that, but just using an example, like going from a job to starting your own business. Usually at a job, there's multiple people there, and different people do different jobs. For an example, accounting, customer service, sales, marketing, the tech support. So everybody has a different job. All of a sudden, you're the solo entrepreneur. And just like we've been talking about, all of a sudden you have this huge list of all these things you have to do.
Mhm.
So I feel like one of the things that I learned to do is mastermind with other entrepreneurs. And that way I could learn from them, but I could also have an accountability partner. Because again, when you're at a job and you get graded on different things, your evaluations or whatever, your boss just comes in and says, Joanne, you're doing a terrible job. We need you to.
That's never
step
going to
it up,
happen.
And it never did, but because I was always one of those crazy people that wanted to be an overachiever. But the point is, but I still then paid the price of the stress of it. So you still pay for it one way or the other. But the point is, most of the time when you're a solo entrepreneur, nobody is on you, watching you, nothing. You can procrastinate as long as you want to.
And you're the only one that's going to know it.
Right. And so with masterminding, what I found is that every month when we would meet, I would have to be accountable to that person. And many times I was in several mastermind groups, and one of them, we would even every week within that month till we met again, all in person, we would have a partner that would call us and say, hey, you said that you were going to have this done by this day.
I love it.
Is it done?
Yeah.
And it might sound silly, but that, like what she was describing, Linda was describing when she introduced me, that took me 3 years to create this whole collaborative portal.
Yeah, let's talk about the collaborative portal.
But I mean, that was where I really needed an accountability partner.
Yeah.
Because you have to keep,
Stay on
task, or it wouldn't still be done.
Right. It's so true. So let's talk about the masterminds and the strategic collaboration. How many people are in a mastermind?
Well, everybody has a different idea. So
Okay.
I'm not going to say I know the exact answer. For me, I've been in some groups that were 8, one time we had 8 women, and, the woman that started it asked us all to join because she said we were the most courageous women she ever met.
Oh,
So that was kind of cool to be with other courageous women.
yeah.
But the one even before that, what I did on purpose, when I was just starting this is back in the early 2000s, I wanted to learn from other people in my mastermind. So I had 4 other speakers, consultants, coaches in my mastermind because of the fact that they were the people that I wanted to work with. So I wanted to learn, what do they like to do? What do they not like to do? What, takes a lot of their time? What things could we take? Kind of like that list I was just talking about.
Yes.
I would try to find out from them what we could do to make their life easier, because that's what I was creating, something like that back then.
Yeah.
And then even though I created all that, what I still found when you were talking about the strategic partnerships, it was amazing how it still doesn't always flow. So just trust me when you're on, starting something new, it's not going to be immediate.
But
like
shoot, that's true for Elon Musk and
exactly.
Amazon and Facebook and Ford Automotive. I mean, the smallest or the largest company, you're going to go through hiccups and you're going to go through turmoil.
Yes.
And, sometimes, but that doesn't mean it's all over.
No. And actually, let me just tell you what I really feel is important. So many times we have to know what we don't want or that doesn't work before we know what we do want and what does work. No, look at, Thomas Edison, over 1,000 times. And actually recently I read it was even 10,000 times. He tried different things to create the light bulb. And you would think, that the key is persistence. He didn't give up. He's like, well, no, because people tell him you're a failure. He's like, no, I know 10,000 ways it doesn't work. And I feel like we have to have that attitude.
Exactly. And like
everything.
Einstein, I think it was Einstein that said it, is that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. With people like Edison, he knew that if he tried it this way and it didn't work, then he just has to tweak one little thing and then that might work. And of course he did it 10,000 times, but thank goodness he did, because we wouldn't have these wonderful lights today.
No, but we just don't realize, but that's what I mean. Don't give up. But the strategic collaboration that Linda's talking about, that is so important in my world. And I even call it strategic collaborative partnerships, because you want to work with other people. For an example, getting back to the portal that we created, that was the reason, because I wanted everybody to be like, right now we're in Linda's studio that's on the 9th floor of this incredible building. I used to go in all these high rises all the time, and you'd look at the marquee who was there, and then you go to their office or whatever. I just would picture, what if we could do like a virtual skyscraper, so all these people could be in the same one from all around the world, and they're different experts. So you would choose that you needed, somebody to help you with your finances. You needed somebody to help you with the accountability we were talking about, or any kind of different subject. And then you would just, how to find that person, and then check out their credentials and actually be able to do what we call a 7-minute strategy session with them. And we say 7 minutes just because you want to see if they're the right candidate. You tell them about your project. You ask them what they would do with it. And I'll just be upfront with you. You also want to make sure you're gelling, not just you, the person that's going to hire the expert, but even the expert. Do they think that they can work with that client? Because some clients won't do what you suggest they do, and then they say, I want my money back, it's because it didn't work, but they didn't do any of their part. So it's a really good way for you to both get to know each other and in those few minutes, but you can actually, talk longer if you want. But the point is, you really want to make sure they're the right fit, but creating these types of collaborative types of partnerships and that are strategic, because of the fact that the other part that people don't always realize, but a lot of these, what we call experts, they're consultants, coaches, team builders, trainers, facilitators, authors, but rather than say all that, we just say the experts. But because they've been an expert in that field so long, they also have connections. They also have contacts with people that have helped them with other projects that might be really perfect for your project too. So either you hire them too, or you work something out that, how you're going to work this together. But it's so vital that you, especially when it's something new that you're not used to get this advice. Just for an example, I used to be in manufacturing, and if you don't have the quality control, you might manufacture all these products, but they don't work.
Then there's a problem.
Right.
Those are the ones that get returned.
So exactly. So that's why you need somebody that even knows manufacturing and knows the different people that understand the importance of not just manufacturing it on time, but having it work when it
properly
comes off the line.
That's right.
So there's just so many pieces to it. But that's why I really feel like, since we're running out of time, but that we need to remember we can't know everything. Nobody does. I mean, if you find somebody that says they do, I say run, because they're probably not telling the truth. But really just try to find the different types of people that can help you in your business. And sometimes, again, it could be a mastermind. Mine never costs anything. Some you can join that do cost money. So, but
that's good to know, because I thought they all cost money, but some of them don't.
But that's why you might want to start your own, like how, I wanted to work with those types of people.
Find the people you want to learn from.
And then to ask if they would like to learn from each other.
Yeah.
And that's when you then get together once a month, like we used to even take turns going to each other's house. So you don't even have to have the expense of, renting a room or whatever. But it's all up to you. I mean, you can do it on Skype now or Zoom or anything. It's not like you are stuck having to do it with people even in your backyard.
Right.
Mine just happened to be that way now. Of course, I mastermind with people all over the world. But it's so important to think about, again, after that list, what types of people would be best for me to collaborate with, to work with. And believe it or not, you can even financially benefit from each other. So then you say, well, when I'm talking to people, I'll recommend your solution too for this percentage, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And you can even benefit financially. It's not like this is just for accountability.
Right.
There's so many more benefits to it that we could spend another, hour talking about that.
Right.
But I really think the big part of it is you yourself think about what types of people you would want in your mastermind group, in your strategic partnership, because I really think the real important part is the collaborative part, because when we collaborate together and we can accomplish so much more. I think 1 + 1 = 11,
Yes.
It's amazing, because to you, it's so easy. To me, it's, so frustrating.
Right.
So why wouldn't we, even do that? Figure out.
And then something that you do might be difficult for me, but I'll learn from you.
You're right.
So let's talk about Link to Experts. Link2expert.com is your collaborative, what do you call it? Collaborative link?
Cloud community.
Yes, community. So let's talk about Link2expert.com. So how is that arranged, and how do people, what would people see there, and how can they benefit from being a part of Link2Expert?
Well, you were saying it earlier, but to sum it up, you can find the type of expert you want, check out other credentials, and hire them in minutes. That usually traditionally would take months, because trust me, I did it the traditional way.
By doing the research.
And yes, and the other thing reason it takes months is many times it's a board or a committee that's deciding if they're going to hire you. So everybody has a different idea of what makes Linda the expert. They want to, if she's ever quoted in Inc. magazine, has she ever been on this radio show? Has she ever, does she have a demo video? I mean, they would just ask the craziest questions. So I would
Okay.
just go back and then I go back and because I usually promoted 2 or 3 big people and they would all want different things. So then I'd go back and say, Linda, send your book to Harry, send your bio to Larry, send
Wow.
Sally, you know, it would just take months. And by that time, unfortunately, most people got a new project, a new idea. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, they, you know, didn't want to, you know, keep, you know, pursuing it just because something else, you know how it is in business. I mean, something else comes on your pile, all of a sudden that one
It's at
gets
the bottom of the
buried
pile.
and they kind
Oh,
of forget
yeah.
about
I
it.
have a pile.
So I do too. Actually, I used to have 2 up until this week. I cleaned out down to
Oh,
1.
gosh, I'm jealous.
Yeah, I'm down to 1, but maybe it's just a little higher than the other one used to
Yeah.
be. But that is really true. And that's why you want to be able to find the right person and get that project started right away, especially when you have, you know, money allocated for it and everything like that.
Yeah.
But and then on the other side is the expert. Okay, so the expert many times they're really good at what they do, but how does anybody even know what they do?
But they don't know how to market themselves.
They don't know how to market themselves because usually when they go on their own, they were really good at something that they did
Right.
for years, but that doesn't mean they did the sales and marketing side of it.
Mhm.
They really,
Yeah.
like
Most people aren't experts at everything.
No, I don't think anybody, as I said that. But.
So let's back up a second and go back to the credentials and that type of thing. Are you saying that you vet every expert that comes into the digital skyscraper?
No, good question. Actually, we don't. And we even have a disclaimer about that because, you know, I can't, it would take us all day to just check everybody, you know, if they wrote that blog or whatever. But we do vet them before they become a member, okay? Because we do want to make sure that they know what they're talking about. They really are an expert. But I can't tell you that every single thing they write in there that, you know, that we check.
Okay.
But we do know that there's a qualification process. We can't have somebody that just left corporate America yesterday and now is a coach today, you know, as an example. So they have to have 3 to 5 years in that case, minimum experience as a coach. Now, sometimes they were that type of person in corporate America. So that doesn't discount, but that's why, you know, it's more case by case. But the point of that is those types of people never marketed themselves.
Right.
So what I grew up in was in sales and marketing. And so I know you have to consistently and frequently stay in front of people and let them know what you can do for them. My life changed back in the early 2000s when my mentor told me, Joe, it does not matter how many people you know, because I got to admit, I was one of those networking queens. Remember, I traveled all over, so I knew people all over the world. I remember going to Nextel in like the mid 90s, telling them something was wrong with my cell phone. It didn't work anymore. I couldn't add any more people. They said, well, we never knew anybody that knew more than 800 people. Okay. So, I mean, this is 1995. But the point is, I thought that was like, oh, I know all these people.
Right.
He's like, Joe, it doesn't matter how many people you know. It matters who knows you and what you can do for them. Whew.
Isn't that the
changed
truth?
my world? And that's the other reason even Link to Expert came about, because when we started because the company is actually Commanding View, and it still is, but Link to Expert we created to make it easy to find somebody, but not just to find them, for the experts then to be able to express what they can do for you to make your life easier. Because a lot of times you hear about these like emotional intelligence coaches, for example, well, the C-level executive or whoever's reading our newsletter or these email blasts or social media posts that we put out there about you, they don't even know what that possibly means. And so, you know, you have to articulate in a way that the person that might hire you will understand who you are and what you can do for them again.
Yes.
Because really, unfortunately, people don't mean to, but they think selfishly, what can you do for me? Remember, we were talking about our
Absolutely.
list. So I want to get some of this stuff off my list. What can you
Everybody
do for me?
wants to know what's in it for
You know what I
me.
mean? So you really have to be able to say and share with them, again, though, consistently and frequently. That's the other thing some people do. They write one blog and they think everybody in the world's going to read it and know who they are.
Right.
Unfortunately not. And so we recommend every week you do something as the expert, whether you write a blog about it, you're on an interview with Linda, you upload that on your Link to Expert website, you are on a radio interview, say that you spoke somewhere, so you had somebody video you on the stage. whatever it is, you just ask yourself when you're looking at your list again, I know that list
Mhm.
keeps coming up, but whatever you're doing, ask yourself, can I write about this? Can I record this? Can I
Mm,
video this?
right.
Because this is all stuff that people that want to hire you want to see about you.
Yeah.
They sure, you can get a $10,000 brochure that looks beautiful and talks all about how great Linda is, or you can have somebody watch your interview where
Right.
that she's interviewing somebody and they can really hear the true Linda. That's what they really want to know now. Not that
That's
you
very
shouldn't
true.
go out and get the brochures,
Yeah.
but they really want to see real life. What does Linda really do?
It's true. It's true. There's so much out there. And really, I mean, we're in a digital age right now where everybody's filming and doing everything. So if you're not,
True.
and if you don't have a book, you know, a business book, you know, that's another thing. But your words give meaning.
Well,
And so
that's
if
a
you're
good
doing
point.
the blogging and you're showing up visually every day, then you know people are going to get to know you, and people hire who they know, like, and trust.
Well, and
Right.
in our case, they don't really have to know you like what you had for breakfast or anything,
No.
because I think a lot of people go too far with that one. But they have to trust you. And the way they trust you
Yes.
is by learning these things.
Mhm.
And like when Linda said, even about a book, it's so true. We work with publishers all the time. We have lots of
Mhm.
collaborative partners as well to help make our members life easier. If they want to publish a book, if they want, you know, videographers, photographers, ghostwriters, you name it. We have all kinds of different people. Plus we have so many media affiliates, as well as affiliates of these organizations that the executives are members of, because we want you to be seen and be heard and be known as the expert. So Linda's absolutely right. You got to do different things to show your area of expertise. And actually it builds up your credibility. And what people don't realize, that raises your rates so you can work less. And one of my biggest pet peeves is you can create passive residual income with your expertise. We actually have 181 ways you can make money using Link to Expert, and most of them are passive and residual.
Wow.
Because I believe people are working, again, our list, we keep going back to that, but we're doing so many things where if they would strategically think, who can I partner with to create this online
Right.
course? Who can I partner with to create this, you know, book?
Right.
So that they can get it done and get it out there and go to the beach, go, you know, on vacation, wherever they want,
Mhm.
while, you know, their stuff is selling without them.
That's a very good point, because I want to ask you, can you give me an example of a recent collaborative success, you know, a project that?
Sure. Recently, I was one of the authors in a anthology book. And so there was 29 of us, okay, that wrote this book. And then we wrote, another group of us wrote another book, and that was called Engaging Experts. So I'm going to use that one as an example, but I started by doing a different book, but with one of our publishers. Again, they're one of our strategic partners, okay? So Kathy calls me and asks me if I want to do that one.
Mhm.
So we did. And this time that we decided to create a companion magazine. Because a lot of times, again, you think you wrote a book and everybody's going to read it, everybody's going to know about it. I mean, we wish, but unfortunately that's not the case. So with the magazine that my company had actually created 6 of them in the past. So we were familiar with it, but we went to these different authors and we asked them if they'd wanted to be in this magazine too. And the difference with the magazine is we made it fun. We had challenges and contests. We had word searches. So not only would you read that member, the experts,
Great idea.
you know, chapter in their book in the magazine, but you would also learn more about Linda.
Yeah.
And because, like Linda said, if they feel like they know you, like, oh, she loves the beach too. That's so cool. And you might think it's weird, but that's how our neurons connect. Like,
It's true.
we can do that. So then with that, then we send that to 317,000 professionals of the magazine. Or your book, how could you send it to?
How often does the magazine go out?
Well, it's not quarterly or anything. We do them
Okay.
occasionally, but this is when you asked about a strategic
Right.
partnership. So that it was the magazine and the book
Right.
going together. And now even, and the other thing we could put in there, just like Linda was saying about digital, because it's a digital magazine, people that had TED Talks, they would put their one sheet, we call them, their ad about what they do, and then click here to listen to Linda's presentation, click here to listen to Linda's interview, whatever it is that you want it, and because it's all digital. And then we even have other people that have podcasts, and they click here to go to their podcast. Some of them, like we were saying about their books, but we even had one guy, he wrote, created a whole movie, and he click here to go to his movie trailer to see if you want to watch his movie.
Wow.
You can do anything nowadays with digital. It's just so
Oh.
powerful. And
we all have a studio right in our home these
Right.
days. We have a
Exactly.
computer and a couple of lights and we're good to go.
Exactly. So I just recommend you don't just do one thing. And then even after with the magazine, what I do myself and recommend to everybody that's in it, every time, like for an example, I'm a big LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn for a lot of
Me
things.
too.
So every day when I go in and see if somebody's birthday, I give them a birthday gift. What is it? The magazine, just as an
Oh.
example. And I ask them to please enjoy their refreshing beverage and to please page through the magazine and let me know their thoughts.
Nice.
Because it's something nice and easy and light for them to do. And even if they just do the contest or whatever, it's just, I feel like it's just
That's great.
again, a collaborative partnership that, hey, and who knows, maybe somebody will see it and they call me and say, hey, I'd like to be in your magazine. Or that they hire that person. Because the other thing is what we learned is we were the bottleneck. What we had to have people used to call us to get to Linda. Well, that just was a waste of time.
Right. Yeah.
Me to call them to call me, and then I'd call Linda, are you available October 6th? Yes. And then I call them back. Oh, we just said it's October 8th. So now everything that goes right to Linda, every page, everything on your 40-page website on Link to Expert has your contact information, not
right.
That you have to call us to call you. So it's just a really way to, again, a fun way. Sometimes you have to do fun things to make it interesting for people to learn about you and what you can do for them again. Absolutely. And we really, recommend that. That's why we work with those executive groups. Then you speak at those executive groups, and those 40, 100, 200, whatever it is, people in that meeting all of a sudden hear about what Linda can do for them. Right. So it's really, again, all kinds of strategic partnerships where we can collaborate and help each other, because it's not just one-sided, it's there to help all of us.
I love it. Such a great idea. Linktoexpert.com, and you can get a hold of Joanne Wieland at
linktoexpert.com, but it's link, LINK, to TO expert.com. I like to say that just because some people think it's the number two, but it's TO, and then info at linktoexpert.com. And our number is 727-791-7338. That's 727-791-7338.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here, Joe. And thank you, viewers. I hope we've given you some information to help you on your way to that pivot, or help you in that pivot, or going to the next level. Strategic collaboration is important, and now is the time to do it. Women have needs too. Right now, I need strategic collaboration. Stay inspired, stay empowered, and have a great day.